Okay.
Morning.
Good morning. We're going to start today with a hymn. So I invite you all to rise in body or spirit as we sing the first and third verses of hymn number 57, All the Beautiful Days of March. Solstice, let us join together as we celebrate a time when the northern hemisphere tilts away from the sun in its everlasting orbit, a time when the stars are especially bright and we can look to them in wonder. As Unitarian Universalists, we light our chalice to signify the gathering of mind, body, and spirit to a sacred space. Today, Sean is going to light our chalice, and Maria will lead us in a Tree of Life meditation to welcome ourselves and each other to this sacred space. All right, come on up, Sean. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, everyone. If you feel led to do so, I invite you to join me in a grounding and centering meditation to get us started for the day. This will take about 10 to 15 minutes. You can close your eyes if you would like to, or Dan, do you have our tree? Or you can use this as a center of focus while we meditate. And today we're going to do a visualization and basically pretend that we're a tree, which will help us to become centered and focused for the rest of the services today. We're going to go ahead and start with 3 deep breaths. So we're going to take a deep breath in through the nose, hold it, and out through the mouth. And we're going to do that 2 more times. In and out. And again, in and out. And resume your normal breathing pattern. And just check in with your body where you're sitting. Feel your back and your legs on your chair, your feet on the floor, the position of your hands and shoulders. Shift around a little if necessary and get comfortable. And just follow your breath as you effortlessly breathe in and out. And then we'll turn our attention to the bottoms of our feet. And we're going to imagine roots growing from the bottoms of our feet through the floor and the foundation, down into the moist, dark earth below. Feel the coolness of the soil, the water in the ground as your roots extend further down. And allow your roots to reach out to the sides as well as they are growing. Reach as far down and out as you are comfortable. allowing your roots to grow until you feel strong, safe, stable, and supported. As your roots become one with the earth, visualize drawing up the nutrients and the water from the soil, allowing them to flow up through your roots into the lower portion of your trunk, feeling the life-giving sustenance that the earth provides. Observe as this energy flows into your body and pools in your center. And we'll sit with that for just a moment, allowing that flow to continue. And then we will turn our attention to where our head and shoulders would be, and allow branches to grow up past the ceiling towards the sky, up and out, reaching for the heavens. Feeling the coolness of the air and the warmth of the sunlight as your branches grow. Visualize what type of tree you would like to be. Maybe an evergreen with everlasting needles, or a changing tree who has lost most of their leaves. Allow your branches to reach as high and as far out as you would like, moving with the breezes and feeling the air. Envision drawing this air in and how it changes in the leaves and branches of your tree to also provide life-giving sustenance from the outer realms that flow down through your trunk to pool with the earth energy in the center. And observe for a moment this flow as it comes from the earth and the sky, and how it mingles in the center, and how you feel as you observe this miracle. And as you observe, you will notice that the sky energy flows down through your trunk to be released into the earth, and the earth energy flows up through your trunk to be released in the sky, creating a complete circle in which you are a major part. Allow this circuit to continue, allowing it to mingle with your own energies. And we'll just sit with this for a moment and allow whatever comes through for you to just flow. And when you are ready to do so, go ahead and start drawing your branches and your roots slowly back into your trunk, knowing that this connection and energy flow will remain for as long as you allow. As your roots and branches recede, visualize your trunk becoming your body once more. Become aware once again of your physical body, your feet on the floor, your back and legs in the chair, the position of your hands and shoulders. Take a few deep breaths to breathe back into this space. Deep belly breaths. Wiggle your fingers and toes, move around a little with whatever feels appropriate for you. And when you are ready, go ahead and open your eyes. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria, for guiding us on a journey to being fully present in our bodies and in our connection to the earth below us and the air around us. Trees are such good teachers and models for rooting in place. Later, with the Time for All Ages, we'll talk more about how trees give us a sense of place as we wait for the light to return. Today, we will also reflect on not only how to be present while waiting for the light to return, for spring to come, but how to move toward the light. For our acknowledgement, I want to introduce you to a symbol from the Odam people who live on what is now the border between the US and Mexico, in what is now called southern and central Arizona and northern Sonora. This labyrinth represents the path of experiences and choices, some very challenging, that make up our lives as we journey toward the sun god. Alfreda Antone, a Tohono O'odham tribal citizen, says this. This shows how you go down and then you reach a place where you have to turn around. Maybe in your own life you fall, something happens in your home, you are sad, you pick yourself up and you go on through the maze. You go on and on and on, so many places. In there you might, maybe somebody in your family died, or you stop, you fall and you feel bad, you get up, you turn around, go again. And when you reach the middle of the maze, that's when you see the sun god. And the sun god blesses you and says, you have made it. And that's where you die. Prior to colonization, the Odham people migrated between summer and winter settlements along a north-south axis as part of their livelihoods and to support religious pilgrimages. This was interrupted by the artificial border across their range, and people on the southern side have suffered more from land theft and forced assimilation. On the US side, the Tohono O'odham Nation governs 4 separate pieces of land with a combined area approximately the size of Connecticut, and the tribe produces more basketry than any other tribe in the US. So remembering the Tohono O'odham practice of migrating with the seasons and acknowledging the ways we are called in this season to move, I invite you to rise in body or spirit and sing the winter verse of Chant of the Seasons. So please rise.
All right, and I invite all those young and young at heart to come forward to participate in our Time for All Ages. Today, we're gonna do a little bit of a craft along with our story. So I'm gonna give supplies to those that come forward. Yeah, come on up, it's fun. And then I will walk around too, so that if anybody in the audience that does not wanna come forward can also participate.
We're decorating our pine cones today. We have a little bit of story time for the origin of the holiday tree and some other celebrations that occur around the world for the winter solstice. In many religions around the world, people celebrate the birth of the Son of the Divine, such as the birth of Jesus at Christmas. Other sons of the divine, born around December 25th, are Mithra from Persia, Horus and Osiris in Egypt, Attis, Phrygia, I guess, Krishna in Hinduism, Zoroaster, Tammuz, and Buddha. Many of these son of the divine births correspond with the return of the sun in the sky. In ancient times, also revered as a god. Ancient peoples gathered at the winter solstice to celebrate the return of the light to the land as the longest night of the year ends and the sun grows stronger again, bringing warm weather and longer days after its rest in the winter. In ancient times, this was celebrated with a solstice tree. Candles and foods were hung on an outdoor tree. The candles represented the light as the sun, moon, and stars, while the foods were offerings to the divine for the return of the sun. The return of the sun would bring back the light and ensure the growth of food and warmth, ensuring survival of the people. As civilizations changed, the trees were cut down and brought inside to keep the wood spirits warm. And they were still decorated with candles, which gave way to electric lights, and also decorated with foods as offerings. Evergreens were thought to be reminders to the sun gods to bring back the light and warmth, so caring for the tree was a way for people to help the sun return. Germanic peoples are believed to be the first people to use decorated trees as Christmas decorations in the 1500s here in the US, and they are given credit for bringing the tradition to the Americas. Today, Christmas trees are a part of the tradition in celebrating the birth of Jesus, as well as celebrating the return of the light.
Oh, can I have Mike? So what you're doing is a representation of a little Christmas tree. You're kind of decorating a seed that comes from an evergreen. Hopefully the little sparkles bring forward some memories of light for you as you decorate your trees. We are now going to sing out our young, and if you want to take those with you, I'm going to hope that Sandy doesn't get upset with us, and you can take them with you as you decorate them more. So, go in love, our hearts go with you. Go in joy, our hopes go too. Learn in love and grow in wisdom. Shine your light in all you do. Go in love, our hearts go with you. Go in joy, our hopes go too. Learn in love and grow in wisdom. Shine your light in all you do. Okay. So here at UUFM, The offering we receive on Sunday morning goes to a special organization each month. This month, our Helping Hands recipient is the Riley County Humane Society. You can donate online by going to uufm.net, then clicking the donate link and choosing the particular fund you wish to contribute. If you are here in person, you can put your offering in the basket at the back. I'd also like to invite you to use this time to share your joys and sorrows this week. You can write on the paper under the seat in front of you for Pastor Isa to read. Or if you're on Zoom, then please type something into the chat to be read for all. If you're here in the sanctuary, I'll come around and pick up your joys and sorrows.
Thank you, Renee. We've come to the time in our service where we share our burdens and amplify our celebrations. Let us call up a spirit of generosity, vulnerability, courage, and compassion as we listen to anything that has been shared. We didn't receive any joys and sorrows written here in the sanctuary. I invite Kathy Hedge, maybe you can share anything that came in from Zoomland.
Yes, I do. Tom shared with us that tomorrow is Tom's 65th birthday. Family and I are celebrating today. I'm so grateful to have family, friends, and all the world in my life as I move forward. Yay! So happy birthday, Tom. And I just have a joy that I'm finding happiness creep back into my heart. And I find myself, I shared earlier, I find myself randomly singing. And now this week I found myself dancing alone in my front room. So, and it's not just Christmas spirit, it's just a general sense of happiness coming back.
Mm-hmm. Yay. That would be a dance. It's, we're celebrating solstice here, the darkest time of the year, and it is just so bright and lovely these days. I understand that joy.
Yes.
Were there any sorrows that came in?
Yes, we've had two concerns. Jane says, I'm thinking of Sue Turner and others who are walking a challenging path at this time. And Larry Weaver shared, I'm sorry not to be present in person, but I have a bad cough. No aches or other flu symptoms, but coughing wears me out. So.
Oh, hope you feel better. Stop coughing soon, Larry. Also sending our good energy to Betty Banner, who is feeling a little under the weather this weekend. So please join me for a moment of silence as we honor all that is happening in our lives that we've shared with each other, as well as those items important to us that we hold quietly within our hearts. We are on the cusp of solstice. For a few more days, the days will become shorter, the nights will become longer, and then on Wednesday, the turning point, when we will begin journeying toward the light, toward summer. Solstice is a sacred, sparkly moment to reflect on this human journey we're all on all the time, journeying toward the light, journeying toward truth, journeying toward healing. Just as the Earth orbits the sun every year, and it appears to us that the sun orbits the Earth every day, we humans are also in orbit. We go and we come back changed. It is human nature that when we experience awe and wonder during these journeys, we tend to try to make meaning out of them. Some of the most important journeys in the course of human history have been understood in spiritual or religious terms. The Hebrew Bible instructs Jews to travel to Jerusalem 3 times a year, and Christians also took on the practice of pilgrimage. Muslims aspire to complete Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca, at least once in their life. And we know there was so much movement across this land historically, with tribes as distant as the Delaware coming to this part of what's now known as Kansas. There's been so much movement, so much journeying. We've marked it as religious pilgrimages, but we know it's even deeper roots, just an aspect of being human. We don't always come back from our journeys, but even when we do return to our point of origin, we have changed, and the place we're returning to has changed. This is the essence of pilgrimage. We go in order to change. We journey toward the light and experience some measure of enlightenment. We see new things about the world and ourselves that we will never unsee. Not all journeys are far-ranging physically. Certainly, it's not always practical to go on a long journey. And yet we still crave change and enlightenment. And so we create ritual to symbolize this journey, to go on a journey inward or narrowly. This is the origin of the labyrinth practice among medieval Christians. The labyrinth at Chartres Cathedral in France was constructed beginning in the 1200s, as were others in Europe. And I think we could see, yeah, good. So the Chartres labyrinth is the one here on the right, with the more wiggles in it. Now, of course, this idea didn't originate within Catholicism. Like many elements of Catholic or Christian practice, labyrinths are an ancient symbol. We don't know when the first ones were drawn or what they were used for, but when you see a labyrinth, there's something so deeply intriguing and satisfying about it that it feels like it must be ancient. That's my experience of looking at them. So the other one here that we're showing is the Cretan labyrinth, which derives from a Greek myth, and it's first found on coins 400 years before the Common Era. An important thing about a labyrinth is that it's not a maze. Sometimes people use the words interchangeably, but the idea that I want you to take away is that you can't get lost in a labyrinth. There's only one path. It goes in, and then it comes back out. It's essentially a spiral. And of course, spirals are everywhere in nature, like in pine cones. If you still have yours, you can check it out. See if you can see the spiral. It makes sense to me that the early human creators of labyrinths wanted to co-create this marvelous pattern, wanted to be a co-creator with whatever wonderful force was behind all the beauty in the world, to enter inside it. This urge to participate, to engage, is what I understand to be the core of pagan practice, still alive and well. Pagan, a label that Christians gave to people who weren't Christians. We all have, these pagan roots, and many of us still practice. So I'm so glad to have Maria here to connect us to the pagan community that meets here on this land. The urge to participate is also at the root of the identity of the pilgrim. According to Lauren Artress, she is the American Episcopal priest who is largely responsible for bringing the labyrinth into spiritual communities in the United States. She was working at Grace Cathedral in San Francisco as a canon pastor when she reached a crisis burnout moment and took a little pilgrimage herself, a retreat, where she encountered the labyrinth. It was a walking labyrinth in a dark building in the evening, and she found herself returning to it over and over again that night, attracted, compelled. 3 months later, still glowing from the experience, but unclear what to make of it, she was literally walking in circles in her living room when it finally dawned on her to put the labyrinth in the sacred space of Grace Cathedral. At the time, it was a radical and strange idea, but she persisted, and it became a powerful, favorite pilgrimage site in San Francisco, and a model for labyrinths elsewhere. I wonder if anyone has been there to Grace Cathedral. Has anybody visited a labyrinth in the world? Yeah, I see a few hands. Indoor or outdoor? Both, but a lot of outdoors. A lot of outdoors in the room. How's the sound coming through? Are you able to hear? Okay. I wonder if that's any better, any louder. Okay. So Lauren writes, rediscovering this magnificent spiritual tool is an idea whose time has come. She understands it to be an extremely useful tool for modern day pilgrims. What are modern day pilgrims searching for? She asks. Well, she believes that the spiritual hunger at the root of our culture has three main facets. We long to be co-creators. We seek self-knowledge. That's, of course, core to Unitarian Universalist identity, our principle of the free and responsible search for truth. And we need healing. She writes about a woman who is struggling with a number of friendships in her life. Quote, when she entered the labyrinth and quieted her mind, she began to see the unity of the whole. She noticed that her place in relationship to others changed while she was moving through the labyrinth. Some were joyful, some solemn, some remained near her, others brushed by as they completed their walk. In the human rhythm of the walk, the woman was able to see that she had unrealistic expectations of her friends and family. She saw for the first time that everyone is on the same path, but at a different place in their own journey through life. So many of us are suffering in our relationships. We sense we could heal from the wounds that have led to habits of assumption making and mutual harm with each other. If we could just get away and get some new perspective. It's kind of ironic to think of ourselves as pilgrims healing from harm, when of course the word pilgrim brings up, I'm sure you're picturing it right now, brings up the image of early colonists to this land. They were known as pilgrims because they were trying to return to the Church of Jesus, radically separating from the Church of England, which they considered corrupt, to form their own congregations. And a strain of that movement eventually became Unitarians. So that's our roots. The colonial pilgrims were seeking healing for the church. Of course, we know now that in their quest, they also initiated a process of harm and devastation upon the people and the lands they came to occupy on this continent. In some ways, their pilgrimage didn't complete. They didn't return home. And so part of our work as a congregation, the reason we do an acknowledgement is to do that, to return home in some way, to become indigenous to this place, as Robin Wall Kimmerer encourages us to do. The fierce energy of resistance and rejection undergirding the colonists' pilgrimage is now part of our legacy as Americans and as Unitarians. As Unitarian Universalists, our collective quest for self-knowledge has brought us around to this threshold moment, one of deep reflection, a spiritual reckoning with our past, and an opportunity to set new intentions. but we don't have a lot of shared tools or practices to guide us over the threshold. Particularly the strong humanist Unitarians who were attracted to this tradition because of our emphasis on rational thought. Spiritual practices like the labyrinth may be foreign to many Unitarian Universalists. They might be just as foreign as the macro labyrinthine process we're engaged in as a religious community, but also as a world right now, as we change into something unknown and unanticipatable. Here's a letter a visitor to the labyrinth at Grace Cathedral wrote. They addressed it to the labyrinth itself. Dear Labyrinth, when I came upon you, more than a large part of my mind was making skeptical comments and dismissals. But I thought, nothing ventured, nothing gained, and I slipped my shoes off and stepped onto the path. I was aware as I walked along how I slowed down, how everything else faded away except the path and the adventure. There were times when I found myself stopping, just stopping and standing. An interesting collection of memories would surface at those times. Sometimes it was like playing a record backwards. It took a very long time, and I was semi-aware that I was approaching the center. As I stepped into the center, somebody, someplace, thundered the beginning of a fanfare on the organ. I stood in the center and smiled, listening to the thunderous organ. And then I skipped back down the trail. There are some realizations we just can't think our way into. We have to take off our shoes and experience them. So to that end, today we're going to be building a labyrinth in this sanctuary. Today, after the service, and it will be open next week. The building will be open during our regular office hours, which are Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, 12 to 5, if you'd like to come back and walk it. And then on Christmas Eve, in the evening, we'll be here 7 to 9. You'll have another chance to walk the labyrinth at night with the sparkly lights. I'm going to offer you a few suggestions for how you can approach the labyrinth. I hope that you will come and do it here in the space, but you can also do this on your own. There's labyrinths you can find online, obviously, and trace it with your mind or your finger. The first option is gracious attention. When you step into the labyrinth, you set the intention to let go of any thoughts when they present themselves. You might find some emotions welling up, some tears, or a sense of peace, and you just let those feelings flow through you while you move. When you get to the center, pause, take a few breaths, and then turn around and wind your way out. A second approach is to ask a question. Questions for the labyrinth are best phrased not as yes or no questions, but open-ended questions. Lauren Artress says we should ask them from, quote, the heart and soul of your being, not from everyday conscious thoughts. You might want to reflect and write your question down before stepping into the labyrinth. A third option for engaging the labyrinth is to get in touch with your deep longing, something you really want, either for yourself or for someone else. Perhaps there's someone in your life who you want to benefit somehow. Perhaps they're ill and you want them to be well. Or perhaps there's something that is gripping you and you just long to let it go, but you don't know how. So you touch into this longing, maybe write about it beforehand, and if you'd like, you can bring a symbol of this longing. A stone would be good, and I'll bring a bowl of stones to set at the entrance to the labyrinth if you'd like to pick one. So you carry your symbol with you to the center of the labyrinth, and then set it down. Set it down in the center, pausing, knowing that in this moment, you've done everything you can to bring about what it is you long for. You can let it go, or you can ask for help or insight. And perhaps at that moment, during that moment in the center, in the stillness, there is something there in the labyrinth that symbolizes a new idea or approach or hope or question that you feel called to pick up and take with you. So those are three options for walking the labyrinth. Of course, you can choose how you want to engage, and I'm sure you will. But first, we have to build it. I have a recipe for building a labyrinth, but I'm going to be honest, I've never done it before, so we'll be learning together. Collaborating, it's a new thing for us. Maybe it will become a tradition. Maybe we will love this. We get to build our own traditions. We can choose to come back to them if we want to, year after year, or not. We also get to choose to change them. Human communities have been doing this since there have been human communities. Though we are each on our own journey, we get to travel together. We don't know exactly which way the path will turn, but we do know that there's only one way to go forward. We don't know what we will find when we get to our destination, if there even is a destination. But we do know that the light is coming. And we have the agency to move toward the light together. So in that spirit, let's join together and sing our final hymn. I invite you to rise. You can stand if that's good for your body, or just rise in spirit. Bring your energy up. And we will be singing "Break Not This Circle."
You can go ahead and be seated. With that, some closing words. As it approaches the longest night of the year, we are warmed by the certain knowledge that tomorrow will welcome more light than today.
Merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again.